Good news, everyone. It's a tea talk today, last one of 23, because the farther along we get in this social media experiment, the more I'm starting to think that a lot of people might low-key be in abusive relationships with their favorite influences. Abusive parasocial relationships, but abusive relationships nonetheless. Happy almost New Year, family. It's your girl T, aka nappy-headed jojoba, not nappy, not jojoba, nappy-headed jojoba. You have to say the whole thing. And when I asked y'all in my last video if you wanted me to talk more about the soft life grift and how to reimagine self-care in a way that isn't just another scam to get you to buy more crap that you don't need, I for real was not expecting such a strong yes. So I'm back to drag the gurus on today and hopefully offer some perspective on why it's time to break the cycles of thinking we can buy inner peace and contentment. Not just from them, but at all. This video is actually going to be a part 2 of 3 on this topic rather than part 2 of 2 like I originally thought. I'm a YouTube viewer first, even though 2023 YouTube been dry. So I don't watch nearly as much as I used to, but as a longtime YouTube viewer first and a YouTuber, you know, a maker of YouTube second, the more I reflected on how the dynamic between the influences and the influenced has evolved in the past decade or so, the clearer it has become to me that there's an argument to be made that with a considerable number of these influencers, the relationship between them and their audiences has verged into a territory. First, we got to define some things. I'm not going to define soft life because we covered that extensively in this video. I dare say defining it properly was basically the entire video, but there are some other terms where I want to make sure we're all on the same page. One, and I covered this in the soft life video too, I do think there's a difference between an influencer and a content creator. An influencer is basically a paid spokesperson, like a Kardashian. Their entire platform exists to suggest, to influence you to buy this, to book that. You know, fashion hauls, unboxings, an entire video devoted to talking about a concealer launch, you get it. A content creator, on the other hand, makes TikToks or Reels or whatever that exist outside of selling a product or a service or experience. In this case, their product is the content they make, whether it's workout routines, a how to chop an onion tutorial, vlogs even. And while there can certainly be product placements from brands within these types of videos, you know, hashtag ad, hashtag spawn, it's essentially like a commercial break on a TV show that exists outside of the actual meat and potatoes of the content itself. Like this right now, because this video is sponsored by Rocket Money. As many of y'all know, I'm saving up to move to a whole different country. It's a big task, and as someone who has an unpredictable income from year to year, I gotta stay on top of my finances in both the long and short view. When Rocket Money came along, the timing of it almost felt like the universe was looking at me managing my money in a DIY struggle spreadsheet and saying, baby, what is you doing? There's a better way. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that allows you to make a custom budget, grow your savings, manage subscriptions, and lower bills all in one place. I think help with setting a budget is one of the best features because if you're doing this every time you get a credit card bill, Rocket Money can create a custom budget by analyzing your spending habits, and then automatically you can monitor your spending by category and get notifications when you've exceeded your limits. Another dope feature is they can cancel unwanted subscriptions for you. Much like with my raggedy spreadsheet, I was doing life on hard mode, you know, on hold for 20 minutes waiting for customer service so I could cancel. With Rocket Money, you can actually cancel from within the app with just a couple of taps. Get the tools you need to save more and spend less so that you can achieve financial freedom. Head to rocketmoney.com/nappyheaded jojoba to start your free trial today, and thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so the line between content creator and influencer can blur. Talking about meat and potatoes, maybe a cooking channel does a video featuring recipes, which are all from their new cookbook. The content provides value in itself with the recipes and demos shown, but it's also meant to influence you to buy their cookbook. Or take me, when I take a break from commentary to do a year-end favorites video, that's me on some influencer steez, even though that's not what I do the other 95% of the time, or what people even know me for. In a nutshell, influencers and content creators are adjacent, but different, to me. They might go to the same school, but they don't sit at the same lunch table, you feel me? Next, we have to establish how we're defining a parasocial relationship. At this point, I think most of us are familiar with the term, but the Cleveland Clinic posted the definition of a parasocial relationship as one-sided relationships or bonds with people you don't know. I wanted to clarify this definition because parasocial is often used to indicate that the influencer doesn't know you, I, we, exist. But that's not quite true. Sure, the relationship is parasocial because they don't know you specifically as in who you are, your hopes, dreams, aspirations, food allergies, but they know you exist enough to block your ass should you deign to do anything but yes, queen, even their worst blunders. I'm not talking about them blocking the trolls and rude commenters. They can get it because I too will block those in a heartbeat. I'm talking about the influencers who block people for giving anything less than a 5 out of 5 on everything they do, say, or sell. You clicking follow or subscribe or watching their content, engaging, clicking their affiliate links, these are the very things that afford them the lifestyle they're now presenting to you as something you could never. More specifically, the relationship isn't merely parasocial, it's transactional, as are the actual romantic relationships of many of these influencers, since monetizing your relationship is very much a thing nowadays, but that's another kettle of fish. Now we gotta get into what is and is not an abusive relationship. Let's go with good old WebMD. After all, where else can you go on the internet at 1:30 in the morning to ask,
why my neck itch?
Only to wind up convinced you'll soon be going on to glory from a rare but fatal form of neck-specific botulism, all in less than 3 minutes. An abusive relationship is a term that describes any relationship where one person exerts power and control over the other in a negative way. Abuse can be physical, but it can also be emotional, verbal, financial, or any other type of behavior that keeps one person under the control of another. Now, the emphasis on the word financial, which I pretty much yelled, is my own, not WebMD's, but they also go on to say the following. People who are victims of abusive relationships often live with a number of problems as a result of the abuse, including feelings of isolation, embarrassment, depression, anxiety, feelings, addictions, injuries, financial problems. Now, it would be wild and ridiculous to act like any influencer can actually force people to watch them, force people to buy the things they're selling, force people to continue to elevate them and the platform that they're on. But what I am saying is, some of these influencers would if they could. Kidding? Kind of. I can see that if you are not in the sunken place of stardom, it ain't that deep. If self-awareness is on point, when you see me or some Instagram person wearing a necklace you like, and you decide to click their link and buy it because you like the necklace and you like them enough to click their affiliate link or sponsor link, whatever, much of the time, that's really all there is to it. Around these parts, we talk openly about how the sausage is made, so y'all know full well that free will is a thing, and your life is only going to be changed by having the same lip gloss I do, insofar as you now have the same lip gloss I do. That is it. That is all. And that's fine. Even though we all have free will to unfollow, to rescind support, to not buy from or through the influencer at any time, the influencer low-key depends on the influenced to coerce at best and prey upon at worst their loyal supporters to buy their trash launch du jour, which far too often leads to the influenced also winding up having that last thing in that WebMD list, financial problems. I doubt that the average guru is nefarious enough to be that open-eyed to what's happening when they launch their latest cash grabs. I don't think there's malicious intent most of the time, but I have seen more than enough collabs and brand launches of shoddy, piss poor quality products that people bought to support their faves who are repeat offenders in scamming. I've seen enough influencers get to a point where they disappear for months at a clip and legit only show up in your feed again when it's time for another product launch of more private labeled AliExpress makeup. And if any of you has the gall to actually complain about poor customer service or product quality, said fave is throwing a block party. Comments have been limited on this post, or straight up turned off. Quiet as it's kept, it is common to see influencers have blatant contempt for their own supporters, without whom they wouldn't have these brands and these collabs in the first place. It gets to this weird place of seeming abusive to me because they need your support and your money, yet also somehow think they're above you and your money. I'm dead ass. I've seen these gurus stunt and designer that looks a mess and don't even fit, and then gloat in the caption to their followers talking about, y'all broke bitches wish you could. Incidentally, I'm not sure it's a flex if you make Fenty look like Fashion Nova. The influencer's livelihood depends entirely on their ability to sell you a dream. And to do so successfully at scale, you need a lot of vulnerable people. Loyal, vulnerable people. Often, they're vulnerable because they're young, too young to clock the grift. Gen Z and younger is also where I think the loyalty thing becomes a bigger factor, because I think a lot of us who are 30 plus been through the BS because we were around before social media was even a thing, so we can just see through it faster. But any of y'all notice how quite a lot of the OG booty gurus are, instead of growing with their original audiences as they enter into their mid to late 30s and start knocking on 40's door, instead of pivoting their content to resonate with this phase of their lives, they're doing the opposite, trying to appeal to Gen Z and wind up just looking like delusional try-hard aunties. The cringe of it all. Worse, it's low-key predatory. For younger people especially, it becomes more easy to confuse loyalty to an influencer who hates you with being in community. The phenomenon of standing is out of control because so many people are losing the plot and conflating what they like with who they are. Your following list is not your identity, and buying every terrible product your fave launches doesn't make you part of something beyond their net sales. And if people aren't vulnerable because of age and lack of experience, then they can also be vulnerable because it's f***ing hard out here. The whole chronically online thing is a logical outgrowth of people feeling isolated, lonely, anxious, depressed. One more again, that WebMD list from before? All that. Obviously, these emotional stressors are exacerbated exponentially by the price of gas, maxed out credit cards, and some of us got itchy necks too. Not me, that's a hypothetical. But we're also conditioned, trained really, to look to solutions as something that can be purchased. There's an app for that. There's a yoga set for that. There's a pill for that. Well, the test determined that was a lie. TikTok is not real life. And to be perfectly candid, a lot of these influencers don't even do a good job of hiding the fact that once the cameras are off, they feel just as lonely and unloved as anyone watching them, despite the life-changing whatever they've linked in the bio. As I hypothesized in my previous video, the purveyors of soft life obfuscated the true intention of soft life to make it nothing more than a marketing strategy. It is profoundly cynical. I mentioned at the top that I originally thought this was going to be a part 2 of 2 on this whole soft life lie, but I felt like I needed to build a case for how and why financial abuse and emotional manipulation is inherent to so many influencers' business models. It's a major element of what I want to get into in part 3, which will be more focused on how we stop engaging in the influencer grift and reimagine our approaches to self-care in more actionable ways. That is it for this one, and that is it for 2023, y'all. Thanks for your encouragement on that soft life video to go on ahead and talk more about this, and for just hanging out with me on any videos that you did this year. Anyway, stay safe, stay dangerous, and it seems fitting to bring this one back since I'm out here scalping the booty gurus yet again, but never trust anyone with a Morphe code, if they even still have those, because ain't that bankrupt? Anyway. Happy 2024.
That's some nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now.